What's shaking, everybody? You're listening to Improv Tabletop, the Fate RPG actual play where we make up everything on the spot. I'm Ned Wilcock, your host and GM, and today I'm joined by...
Caleb Anderton, enjoying every minute of seasonal allergies.
Hey.
Connor Wood, not currently working.
Wink, wink.
Heather Brower finally got off the bench.
Yeah.
Yep, we're bringing Heather back into the game. You got to save your heaviest hitters for the most important moments,
That's
right?
right.
That's right.
Yeah, Narnia.
Narnia, you heard that right, folks. We are combining for this campaign Narnia with film noir.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, every so often we come across a campaign where it's like, there are somewhere beforehand I have kind of a broad idea of where it might go. This one, I honestly am not sure what this is going to look like.
Big same.
We're going to find out together.
This is somehow less of an unholy abomination than Return of the King was.
Yeah.
This is like these two genres don't have much to do with each other, but at least it seems like it might be a bit more respectful of the former, of the Narnia part.
Yeah. So of the Inklings, we offer our apologies to J.R.R. Tolkien, but we say, hey, C.S. Lewis, it's your turn, bud.
We're coming for you.
So, yeah, let's...
Get tabletopped.
Yeah, get tabletop. Look, we're going to start off as we usually do with our ideation. We're going to tell real stories of our real experiences from our real lives of what we understand about these two disparate themes. And then we're going to put those into a big pot of brain stew, and then we're going to pull out of that brain stew to tell a cool story. And I will start us off with that. So the one that I am more closely aligned with is The Chronicles of Narnia. This was a very, very well-beloved world that my family really loved all while I was growing up. Before the most recent iteration of The Chronicles of Narnia was put to film, there were a couple different versions of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that I had seen previously. Like, the most recent film version, I think, is certainly the most well done of them, but I recall there was an old BBC version.
Yes.
I can't remember exactly when it came out, sometime in the 80s.
Oh, man.
Like, made for TV, I believe is what they were.
Yeah.
That is a trip.
Yeah. I distinctly remember the face of Mr. Beaver, just a real human with beaver makeup and a big furry suit, just going like, Aslan is on the move. And at the very end, when they have the crowns coming down on top of their heads, they're like, all four of them are sitting in their thrones, and then there's just like this really horrible VFX of these crowns just like appearing above their heads and lowering down on top of them. That was a wild time.
Yes.
There was also a cartoon version, an animated version that I saw. That one was also wild, very wild. I can't remember when that one came out, but yeah, definitely if you want to watch a good film version, watch the most recent one. Came out in 2005. It was one of the first films that my family owned on DVD, so it's very heavily ingrained into my memory. Just watching this movie over and over and over again. I think, weirdly enough, one of like the most strong emotional memories I have of that movie is at the very end when the credits start and Can't Take It In by Imogen Heap starts playing.
Yeah.
It's just such a beautiful example of a credits pop song, which like that's kind of its own genre unto itself, the credits pop music, but I feel like that's one of the more masterful applications of it. In preparation for this campaign, I rewatched the first one, and I realized that I had never actually watched the recent adaptations of Prince Caspian or The Dawn Treader. I had caught bits and pieces of them here and there, but I went back through and rewatched all of them, and Prince Caspian, pretty darn good. Pretty darn great adaptation, I thought. Voyage of the Dawn Treader, here's, I think, part of where it gets difficult trying to adapt the Chronicles of Narnia to film, because after the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, they admittedly do start getting pretty weird. Like, I can't imagine how they would try to adapt The Last Battle to a film version. It's It's weird because, like, I'll admit, it's been a long time since I read the books. It was back when I was in, like, middle school or something. But I just remember as a youth being like, what's going on with this monkey and this donkey? And, you know, obviously it's an allegory for, like, the Book of Revelations, the last days and all that stuff. So it's bound to be weird. Mm-hmm. But I can see why, you know, after the Dawn Treader, they probably decided maybe that's kind of where we're going to have to stop with the film adaptations. Whatever the case may be, I love The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's very much like a core memory for me. And I'll admit, the thing that really, really stood out to me this time, I didn't know who James McAvoy was the first time I watched that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But holy cow, James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus is so immensely charming. He's just so perfect for that role. I love it.
Fantastic.
Now let's pop on over to the noir side of things. The thing that I realized about noir when we were preparing for this campaign is there are aspects of noir film, like the tropes, that are kind of like ingrained into our culture. You know about, you know, the hard-boiled detective who narrates his own scenes, and there's the dames, and there's the dark alleyways, and the intense, like, black and white lighting and stuff. But I realized that I didn't really have much experience with the core material itself. Like, I'd seen, I think, sort of my first exposures to noir when I was a kid were Calvin and Hobbes. He had Tracer Bullet was like his noir persona. Mm-hmm. And the other one was Between the Lions on PBS. Sam Spud, parboiled potato detective. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Which is a direct parody of Sam Spade, the main character in The Maltese Falcon, which I went and watched in preparation for this.
Hey, nice.
I watched The Maltese Falcon, which I love Peter Lorre as Joel Cairo in that film. Peter Lorre, fantastic actor, also in Casablanca, does a great job there.
What a character actor.
Right?
Yeah, really.
The other films I watched in preparation for this, Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Holy cow. That is a very affecting movie. That is a movie that will make you feel a lot of things from beginning to end. Like, it starts out and it's kind of like, oh, this is absurd and humorous and whatnot. And then it takes twists where it's like, this is deeply unsettling. And now I feel like my heart is lifted in twitterpation. And now I feel just like kind of, I don't know what I watched. Like, I got finished with that movie and I was like, am I insane right now? And I had to go, you know, take a little lap. It's a very good movie, immensely well done.
Yes.
I definitely recommend watching it. Then I watched Chinatown. Sort of a more modern take on noir, and I rewatched Blade Runner because that's neo-noir and it counts, baby, and I absolutely love that movie.
Nice.
So this is like where we get into the question of how do we combine these things, because Chronicles of Narnia is so immensely lighthearted. You know, it has its heavy themes, but at its core, it's you know, a series of children's books, very well written children's books. You know, there's that C.S. Lewis quote, something to the effect of, "There's no children's book that's worth reading as a child that isn't even more worth reading when you're an adult." Mm-hmm. Something to that effect. And how do we take that and combine it with cigarettes and dames and people getting shot in the night and all that stuff? How is this going to work? I don't know. We're going to have to find that out together. And as part of that, I'm going to end my ideation. We're going to turn it over to Caleb, let's say. What you got for us?
Yeah, let's jump into the Chronicles of Narnia first. I've always been a big C.S. Lewis fan, and in fact, I read through the whole series of the Chronicles of Narnia like once as a child, and honestly, I don't remember a ton of the later books because I also haven't gone back to those recently. I've gone back to, honestly, my favorite for some reason was always The Magician's Nephew, that like prequel novel.
Dude, I love The Magician's Nephew. I think that's probably my favorite.
I have gone back to that one so many times, like as a child and as an adult, because I love it. There's something about that specific one that really draws me back over and over. And then even as like a teenager, I got really into a bunch of C.S. Lewis's other works, like even his, you know, Christian apologetics with Mere Christianity, and to some level The Great Divorce. And like there's a lot of, gosh, there's so much that I just absolutely love. His writing, it's interesting. I've talked about Tolkien before. Tolkien ended up creating my favorite world, but I feel like on the level of like an author that really speaks to me on my level, like I feel like our souls connect in many ways when he writes, is C.S. Lewis. Also, little plug here, if you have not read the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis, go give that a read or a listen. It starts with Out of the Silent Planet, and then it goes to Paralandra, and then the final book is That Hideous Strength. It is like, picture the Chronicles of Narnia with all of its Christian themes and parallels and things like that. Tone it down a little bit. It's not quite a direct allegory like the Chronicles of Narnia is, but then like put it in space. It's his own space opera, and it's amazing. Love that book series. With my cousin, I plan to turn that series into a movie someday. It's going to be great. We've been working on that for a few years. We've got a lot of plans.
That's awesome.
Coming someday to a theater or something near you.
Someday.
Anderton Productions.
I love C.S. Lewis, and I feel like his writing and his work has helped me, and I believe has helped many people understand Christianity on a deeper level because of the way that he has written about it. And so that's one thing I love. Also just the creativeness of it and all of the, the whimsical talking creatures and the dwarves and the centaurs and all the fun stuff and the fawns. And anyway, it's wonderful. Moving over to film noir, I started The Maltese Falcon in preparation for this campaign. I only made it about halfway through it, so I don't know how it ends yet. And I am in the middle of being completely confused. We're going to finish that probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
So by the end of recording this campaign, hopefully I'll have a bit more context for that. And I've seen a lot of like noir adjacent things, like Casablanca and On the Waterfront, kind of a bunch that are almost in that realm. And let's see, I feel like there's a ton of noir parodies, even in like Phineas and Ferb. Noir is just such a classic genre. There's so much that goes into it that I feel like everybody has to do a parody of it at some point. The mystery, the detective stuff, I'm very excited to see how these two mash up. And that's where I think I'll bow out. And yeah, I'll hand it back to you, Ned.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear what you think of the conclusion of The Maltese Falcon. It's a very circuitous story, where like you can tell that, the people who are writing the story, they obviously know what the solution is from the very beginning. And the way that they like drip feed the barest amount of information as you go throughout the story till eventually at the very end you understand what's going on. But it takes all of that time to finally get the full picture.
Yeah. What's been interesting to me so far is they're telling you, like, as a consumer of the story, you just kind of have to believe what they're telling you. And then the next scene will show up and absolutely everything you thought you knew about this character is wrong. And it's just very interesting how I'm trying to compare it to something and I can't think of anything else that does that. You just don't know what to believe.
Yeah, it's wild. I saw that continuing in like Chinatown as well. With Jack Nicholson in that movie, also really, really good. Yeah, one other thought though, kind of you talked about expanding further into the C.S. Lewis canon. Have you read the Screwtape Letters? I'm trying to remember if we talked about that.
I love the Screwtape Letters.
Yeah, that is a very interesting one. I think for our listeners, we have a pretty broad swath of people who listen to the show, I know. But regardless of where you personally stand with Christianity, I think it's just a fascinating, commentary on humanity in general. Because the way it's written, it's from the perspective of this senior devil, this senior tempter, who is writing letters to his nephew who's coming up in the ranks of the devils. And he's like, if you want to take down these humans, this is what you got to do. So it's like a morality play written from the opposite perspective.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. I really liked the way that he wrote that one.
It's a great read. I agree. Even if you're not into Christianity, it's a great read from the perspective of everything else that happens, the way it's presented.
Yeah, and I think a pretty good indication of C.S. Lewis's mastery over narrative, the way he was able to make that all come together.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's pass it on over to Heather, let's say.
Okay, guys. I'm going to be extremely honest here. It took me 5 or 6 nights to get through the Maltese Falcon. I fell asleep on the dot at 10 minutes every night.
Dang.
And I don't go to bed early. I go to bed at 1 and we'd start it at 9.
Wild.
Man, I slept so well that week. I was a very happy camper that week.
I was going to say, it's better than Motrin.
Because I got so much sleep. Thomas is like, you've never gone to sleep at 9:30 on a regular basis. He tries to get me to go to bed at a good time.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, 12:15 is my good where I'm like, okay, I'll go to bed early, 12:15. And he was just like, Heather, I want to finish this movie. Can you just get it together? And I'm like, babe, I am trying so hard. I really am. So I had been told before watching this, I watched it for research for this podcast, and I had been told that it was like the birth of the red herring.
Oh.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you guys, you're sitting here talking about like the turns and everything, and I am racking my brain. Granted, I fell asleep 6 times, but then I rewound to the spot where I fell asleep, so I actually watched all of it.
Mhm.
But I am like racking my brain for what you mean, because I knew the end from the beginning. So where was the red herring? Like, what is this red herring they're talking about? Because I knew exactly how it would turn out in the end. The only thing I was surprised by was how much more misogyny there was than I thought there would be.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate hallmark of classic noir.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, I love Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Oh,
I love
boy.
Oklahoma.
Oh, yes.
Like when people are like, nope, it's too chauvinistic. We're throwing it out of our times because we're a modern society. I still love that stuff. But watching the Maltese Falcon, I was like, I agree with you guys. Like, it was hard to swallow, even though I was asleep. But I believe that it was good because, it was written good and good actors and stuff. It was just not my film, I guess, not my genre. So we were going to watch all of the ones Ned had suggested. And after the Maltese Falcon, that was the first on his list. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, man. So that's
no.
the unfortunate thing with that, I think, is the Maltese Falcon, I think, is a great encapsulation of sort of the origins of these tropes and these themes. But I think Chinatown did all of them in a more streamlined, more understandable way. Like, a really simple example is there's so many characters in the Maltese Falcon, and sometimes you think they have one name and turns out maybe they have a different name.
Yep.
It's just all over the place. A very little thing that Roman Polanski does in Chinatown is he has the characters say each other's names very frequently, so you know what the characters' names are. It's just a very simple little thing that I think was very effective in a very confusing sort of framework of storytelling.
I love it when storytellers do that.
Yeah.
I might have to watch that one then, because I was like, I thought I really loved film noir, but I guess in my old age, it's just really great to helping me go to bed.
Here in your twilight years.
Yeah, Chinatown's great. Sunset Boulevard, it's not as traditional of a noir film in the sense of, like, it's not about a hard-boiled detective. It's about a struggling scriptwriter, but still, just like the theming is great. I think you would really like Sunset Boulevard.
I would agree.
I will definitely look at that. The other knowledge I have of film noir is Studio C's little sketch of it where she comes in and just pounds on his chest every second. She says something and they look at the camera, then she pounds on his chest and he's like, stop hitting me, woman. That's the other thing I have with noir. The hitting the chest so softly but looking like it's hard. Going on to Narnia, which I'm still excited for film noir. I just want that out there.
Yes.
But with Narnia, we have found out that I don't really do my research into things that I love, so I never did read the books. I grew up on the 80s version that Ned was talking about. And it was my favorite. I would rent the videotape from the library every week. Every other week, because I would rent it for a week and then you'd have to let it go in for a couple days. And then I'd hurry and go rent it after the time that it had to be in the library because you can't renew it. So I'd have it, renew it, turn it in for a couple days, get it back and renew it. It was just my favorite. And in fact, when they came out with the new movies, I revolted. I was so upset.
Dang.
Because I was like, people are going to forget. They're going to forget about this amazing art that The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe is. It's incredible. I'm so upset about this. And then I saw it and, oh my gosh, Peter's so cute. And you can't just not love it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And James McAvoy, I'll get to that in a second. But that old version I was also in love with that Peter too. It's fine. And I hated that Peter had dark hair and Edmund had blonde hair, and then it was switched in the new version. I don't know why, but that drove me nuts growing up that they would dare to make the hair colors different. They did that with Susan too, in case you're wondering. Anyways, that old version, I still think it is on top of its game for the 80s. Like Mr. Beaver, like Ned said, I will never forget him. He's wonderful. And I love it all. Okay, going on to James McAvoy and his interpretation of Tumnus. I loved the old Tumnus. And I was like, no one will ever be Mr. Tumnus to me. And then enter James, and I'm like, okay, I'll make room for you. And in fact, he had all the room in my heart. I was so in love with him that I'm like, in the old version, if I remember correctly, it could just be in my head, but they would say Tumnus in a way that it sounded like Thomas. So I would always call him Sir Thomas. And then when I met James McAvoy as Mr. Tumnus, I was like, oh my gosh, my Mr. Thomas, I love him so much. I have to marry a Thomas. Boom. Little does my Thomas know. Actually, I've never told him this, but I have always had a soft spot.
He's fulfilled the prophecy.
Wow.
Actually, I call him Tumnus sometimes.
Oh my gosh.
That's adorable.
Nice.
That rules.
That's my thing. And when I was younger, I would go into every closet in anybody's house, like any wardrobe type closet, to see if there was magic somewhere.
Y'all got any magic in here?
Yeah, just looking for Narnia.
Just in case.
Absolutely. Any creepy looking closet. I remember I had a friend who we went and helped her aunt move or something, and it was this bad house that they moved into, bad neighborhood. Like, this house was falling apart, very old, and I searched those closets so hardcore. I knew I'd find Narnia. I haven't yet, but I do have a like hidden storage room in my house that when Thomas and I moved in, we were like, oh my gosh, it's like Narnia in here, because you have to go in through the water heater room and you don't know it's there. It's this hidden room under the porch.
Cool.
Nice.
And I was like, I found Narnia! And so we had to move here. I have my Tumnus and my Narnia, you guys.
Wow.
That's all you need.
Man, living in a fairy tale world over there.
Yeah, obviously. And I have a dragon on my wall.
Yeah.
That's true.
Living the dream.
One that you painted yourself, so I'm bringing a little bit of your own magic to the situation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And let's pass it over to Connor then to round us out.
I will be your Connor this evening. So my uncle, 2004, right before the movie came out, gifted me The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I still have those paperbacks.
Yeah.
So I did read them as a kid, and I remember being so enthralled by, especially The Magician's Nephew.
Yes.
It was really, really cool. And then seeing around when the movie came out is when I got my slow behind over to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and just seeing what I had in my head, like, on the pages come to life was such an affirming experience for me. So that was crazy cool for me as a kid. My first visual experience was definitely the 2005 movies, but I remember haunting the blockbusters of my hometown as a child and always just gravitating towards the old 80s for television, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and I'd look at these and be like, what a production they're putting on. What is all this? These people look old. I really miss Blockbuster, but I never did see them. I always wanted to, but no, I never actually did. I think I did see all of the movies, and I gotta say, past The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Prince Caspian, like specifically Prince Caspian, I don't remember anything from those movies. So I'm gonna be of great help today. Gosh, do I have anything else about Narnia? Yes, I do. A word was recently added to the English dictionary, and it's a word that Christian Randall and myself throw around a lot, and that word is Isi Kai. Now, this is a subgenre typically associated with anime that effectively lays out a very tried and true premise, and that is protagonist is transported to new world and they live new life in new world. So I would posit today that this is the original Isi Kai.
Nice.
You know what? I hadn't thought of that before this moment, but I'm not going to disagree with you.
Maybe not the original. I'm sure we've got some Peter Pan diehards out there who are going to come for me. But this was one of the early Isi Kais. So I'm going to keep that in my mental brain pocket. And I've said my piece now on Narnia. Now, let's talk about noir. I really do enjoy the noir genre quite a bit. I think the subgenre has, like you guys have said, it's become so much and so kind of all-encapsulating and referential that it's become less of a subgenre and more of like just an overarching tone, almost, at least as far as contemporary film is concerned. However, you look at its prime, which was like just after Western films had their heyday. And there really is some captivating, gripping, good stuff back there. One of my personal favorites has already been lauded on, and that is Sunset Boulevard. I also really love Orson Welles and Joseph Cotten in this one. It's called The Third Man. It is super, talk about tone, this is super discordant because it has the look and the writing and the everything of a noir film, except for the soundtrack, because it sounds like SpongeBob music. And that's all I really know how to describe it as. But there's this one scene where Joseph Cotten and Orson Welles are talking in a Ferris wheel, and it feels like you're watching an episode of SpongeBob with completely serious writing. It's so strange. I love it so much.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about what the sort of ripples of noir has done for the television and media that we interact so closely with nowadays. But I really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of really good old stuff. And I think the new stuff, albeit is less defined, but it's still out there. So I love noir, I love anime, and I remember some stuff about this Chronicles of Narnia. So we'll see if that comes in handy.
Dude, it's interesting that you specifically mentioned the music as being kind of an aspect of noir, because when I was rewatching Blade Runner, like, it hadn't occurred to me the first time I watched it that it was neo-noir. Yeah. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Vangelis wrote the soundtrack, and it's just so ethereal and futuristic.
Yeah.
Like, if Blade Runner had a classic noir-style soundtrack, I think it would read a lot more as noir, but I wouldn't change a thing about Blade Runner.
Word.
Well, except for some of the misogyny.
Yeah, maybe a little of that can go.
But everything else about Blade Runner is pretty great.
I had one more thing. If you're looking at me, I just have to say the most iconic thing for me in the newer movies I think it's the first one, is when Susan is like with the army on top of that ledge, and the ledge is coming down of the mountain, and like she like sticks in her sword or whatever because they're going down, and they're like, for Aslan. And then you compare that to when they're all in a hidden cave. No, it's not the first one because Caspian's there. But anyways, they're all in a cave like doing war talks and stuff. And then out of nowhere, there's this minotaur that comes out and goes, for Aslan, out of nowhere. And it like takes you out of the entire thing, but also is wonderful at the same time. And for years, even now, if there's anything that's going on that I can't grasp in a room when people are just talking and I have nothing to add, I'll go, for Aslan. He added nothing to the conversation, but it was wonderful.
I love that.
Yeah, I had a roommate for a while that, like, whenever we were leaving the apartment, he'd be like, for Narnia, and then we would leave. It was great.
I love that.
You know, that's one thing that I did really appreciate about Prince Caspian is Susan got her chance to be an awesome warrior in that movie. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, now that we have fully ideated this here situation, let's build some characters for Narnia.
For Narnia.
For Aslan.
For Aslan.
Do we have anybody who has a strong idea about what their character is going to be? Cool. Neither do I.
I have several ideas, but I have to play off of what everyone else is first.
Dang it.
Okay. Let's put somebody on the spotlight. Caleb.
I knew it.
Your name is first alphabetically. Let's go with you.
I knew it. I knew it was coming.
Get spotlit.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Something that is both Narnia and noir. Something that is Noirnia, if you will.
If you will, in fact.
I will, in fact. Okay. We were just talking about a minotaur. I'm going to be a minotaur.
Nice.
Let's see. His name is going to be Sam Sparrowgold.
Cool.
All right.
he is going to be, well, he at least considers himself Aslan's personal detective.
Ooh.
And I think that's what I'm going to do. My high concept aspect is Aslan's personal detective.
Dude, I like that. When Aslan is too busy being a redeeming figure in other worlds, you have to pick up the reins in this world.
Yeah, maybe not so much in the the redeeming qualities, but if there's something that I feel like Aslan's going to need to know about this when he gets back, Sam Sparrowgold is going to go and investigate. And here's the thing, he's not very sneaky. He's not very good at tailing people quietly. He's a giant minotaur. So I think we're going to make him, for his peak approach is going to be forceful.
That makes sense.
We're going to do that. We're also going to put careful up there pretty high as well, because he tries to balance it out. We'll see how well that works.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think for his trouble, it'll just go right along with that. We're going to put lack of stealth on there.
That makes sense. Bit of a blunt instrument here.
Yes, very much so.
Which definitely is a bit of a drawback for somebody who's trying to be sneaky detective-like.
Yeah. Who knows? It might work for him. We'll see if he finds his own style as this goes. I'm ready for an audience suggestion, though, if we have any of those to work with.
We do, in fact.
Yeah!
And even though I did forget to ask for them until after we started recording, I did remember to ask for them before we got to this exact moment.
Yeah.
Coming in clutch. Let's go.
So, we have some awesome friends who have been giving us some really good suggestions, and here's the ones we're going to give you to choose from. Her song was so entrancing, I got kidnapped. Next one, Turkish Delight. You got anything stronger?
That's great.
I love that.
And I'm going to combine a couple for this next one. If only I could crack this stone table.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Cracking a case there, right?
Yeah. Those are all really good.
These are all really good,
Mm-hmm.
as per usual.
I am personally drawn to Turkish Delight. Got anything stronger?
Because that is definitely another big hallmark that we see with our noir heroes is substance abuse issues.
Self-medication.
Yeah.
Man, I remember every time I saw Edmund eating that Turkish Delight in the movie, I was like, that looks so good. How do I get my hands on some of that?
I want some of that.
And then, I don't know if it was just me, but then you actually go and try Turkish Delight later after that, because I'd never had it before, and I'm like, man, this isn't that good. Like, it's like the inside of a Fig Newton.
Yeah. I love Fig Newtons.
My mom tried to make some at one point, and I don't remember exactly how it went, but I remember enjoying it.
I mean, to be fair, Edmund had the magic Turkish Delight,
Yeah.
which was specifically made to make anybody who ate it want more and more until they couldn't think of anything else. So
Yeah, what you gonna do?
Substance abuse. It's always been noir.
Yeah. And now we just need a stunt for Sam Sparrowgold.
a stunt.
/ piece of equipment, whatever you feel up to.
I'm just going to call the stunt for Aslan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be able to use that to do something.
Yeah.
Whether that's to convince myself and give myself the extra pep that I need, or maybe I could convince somebody to do something because it's for Aslan. I don't know.
Yeah. Just a nice general motivating sort of rallying cry.
It is, yes.
All right. Character number 1, Sam Sparrowgold.
I don't know where Sparrowgold came from, but, that's improv, baby.
From the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives me kind of a Puddleglum sort of vibe. It's got a similar sort of cadence to it.
Yeah.
Puddleglum, the Marshwiggle. Which book is that from? I can't remember.
I remember the name. I don't remember anything else.
I'm going to look that up real quick, and while I'm doing that, Connor, what kind of character do you have in mind?
I'm glad you've asked. My character name is Drew Tape. I'm a journalist. I run a column called the Drew Tape Letters. And
Nice.
I'm trying to expose crime in this freaking closet or wherever we are.
Dude, I'm going to give you an extra fate point right off the bat for that
I love it.
one. Drew Tape.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what do you think is maybe something that is kind of high concept to define our friend Drew Tape?
I will say I'm gonna go with seeing is believing, or the photos don't lie.
Ooh.
The photos don't lie.
I think he is very straightforward and straight cut when it comes to like what is fact and what is not.
Interesting.
I like it.
Now, what do you think is something that might get Drew Tape in trouble on occasion?
Takes a lot of photos and he has a very, very bright flash. he does not budge on that point, even though it's gotten him in trouble many a times. He likes the flash.
Oh, I love it.
We're gonna call his trouble Flasher.
Flasher. How troubling. Man, we have two immensely unstealthy characters.
Yeah.
It is mechanically coded into your being that you are not stealthy.
We're gonna make a great team.
Yeah.
Now let's get some audience suggestions for you to choose from. First one for you. I don't deal with dames or thinly veiled allegories.
That's so good.
Next one. She was all legs. Goat legs. And leaning against the lamppost on a stormy night.
Let's go numero uno. Can you run that by me one more time?
I don't deal with dames or thinly veiled allegories.
That's the one.
Drew Tape seems to me to be the kind of guy who, because one of the things that we consistently see in the Narnia stories is the question of how much do we believe in Aslan? Which,
Sure.
it's an allegory for Christianity. I think Drew Tape might be an interesting foil to like Sam Sparrowgold, who's very much for Aslan.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you two have a lot in common as far as your lack of being able to move around quietly.
Yes, we do.
Yes, that we do.
All right, now a stunt for our friend Drew Tape.
I'm gonna call this hard evidence.
Ooh.
The idea is to present undeniable truth in some sort of physical way, probably through a photograph.
Objection!
Objection! Yeah, that is literally what came to mind as I was thinking through this guy. So,
And I guess the last thing we need to know about Drew Tape, what is your peak approach going to be?
it's gonna be flashy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The flashy flasher, that makes sense. All right.
Flashy, and then I'll say behind that is gonna be, we'll do quick. We'll do quick.
All right. And then before we get to our final character, Puddleglum is from The Silver Chair,
There we go.
which I guess makes sense because The Silver Chair is the book that I remember the least about.
There you go.
All right. Now let's bring it over to Heather for our final character.
All right. You see this character just walking through the woods, and you're looking down a little bit to like 4 foot, maybe 4.5 foot tall. And this person has curly blonde, short curly blonde, kind of shaggy-ish hair, and 2 horns on top and goat legs. This is a satyr.
All right.
Or is it a fawn?
Question.
Yeah, I guess there is a distinction between the two in Narnia because you got like Tumnus is the fawn, but when you see the satyrs, they've got like straight up goat faces.
True.
That's fair. Good distinction.
How goaty do you want to be?
That is such a good question. Okay, I guess I'm probably a fawn.
All right.
And this creature's name is Isi. Last name Kai.
Isi Kai. All right.
Let's go.
You know, I'll give you a free fate point as well for building on Connor's thing, even though you, as far as I know, don't really know anything about anime.
You are correct.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I love a few anime classics like Kiki's Delivery and
Mm-hmm.
Castle in the Sky, but that's about it.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Now, as far as Isi Kai's demeanor, her personality, her, well, I guess I'm trying to remember. Did you say that it was a female fawn or a male fawn?
This is a male.
Okay, I should have known. Heather.
Always.
I was hoping Connor would be the dame.
Yeah, I'll be, Nancy Drew Tape. Whatever.
Don't worry, I can provide some dames for you folks. Don't worry.
I think you'll be a better dame than I could ever be, Ned.
All right, so what is our high concept aspect for Isi Kai?
Isi Kai. I would say no book is actually like its cover.
So you got some skeletons hiding in your closet here, it sounds like. All right. Now, what's something that might get Isi Kai in trouble on occasion?
I feel like Isi Kai is clumsy, bumbling idiot.
Oh, this is great. 3 for 3.
We are such a good team.
But not in the way you think, because I do feel that sneaky would be up there.
Oh, but sneaky in more of like a social kind of way, perhaps?
So I feel like they probably wouldn't be careful, but they're sneaky. So like, without revealing too much, I feel like just like, I'm thinking a lot like the character in Maltese Falcon where he can't hold a gun the right way, right?
That is such a theater kid thing to say.
That is not how you handle that prop.
But that's kind of what I'm thinking when I say clumsy. Like, this person is sneaky when they need to be, but then things happen, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're like mentally sneaky, I guess.
Okay.
But not physically. I don't know.
It's like when I often have this problem where my mouth wants to say words faster than it actually can.
Yeah.
Okay. Clumsy idiot in body but not in mind.
Yes.
Now, let's get some audience suggestions for you. Don't cite the old magic to me. I have a revolver.
I love that so much.
Beautiful.
It's really good.
Next one. She was cold as ice.
Oh my.
Yeah, she was.
And the last one. When the lion walked in, I knew he was going to be trouble.
Because I already talked about holding a gun the wrong way, I have to go with the first one.
All right. Okay. Beautiful. Now we need a stunt/piece of equipment for Isi Kai.
It is going to be a red herring.
Ooh.
A fish.
A
Oh.
literal red herring.
A literal red herring.
All right.
Awesome.
But it's going to be encased.
Cool.
This could be a good way to add to your sneakiness, to make up for the fact that your body isn't very sneaky. You've got this red herring you can throw into the situation to throw people off the scent.
Exactly.
And then the last thing I suppose that we need for you is what your peak approach is going to be.
Clever.
I like that. Good to have a clever individual when you're trying to solve mysteries.
Yeah, we need some brains on this team.
Just funny that the detective isn't clever.
That is true. All right, so looking at that, we've got our 3 characters all ready to go. And shoot, I might have to pull an audible like I did with Return of the King. We talked about Narnia for such a long time that I think we might have to pick back up with the actual story of this in our next episode.
We can get into it a little bit. We've got time.
All right, why not? Lightning strikes. A revolver shoots out into the darkness. Which of you is the bullet going for? We'll find out next time on Improv Tabletop.
Oh, man.
Oh, good.
That was perfect noir.
That was great.
Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. I feel like these last couple ideations have been more almost like book club discussions
They have been.
than our typical ideations.
I kind of love it.
I mean, when you get into those classical British writers, what else are you going to do?
Right.
Yeah, you gotta.
When we get around to doing a Shakespeare campaign, that's going to be an insane ideation.
It's Jover for you guys.
Yes.
In any case, well, listeners, thank you for joining us on this brand new campaign we got going on. We'll be back next time with the thrilling beginning of our adventures here in the world of Noirnia. If you want more, go and subscribe, maybe even give us a review. We would be as happy as a young boy with magically infused Turkish delight if you would go ahead and give us a review on the podcatcher of your choice. We're also all over social media at Improv Tabletop, so if you'd like to connect with us there, maybe you'd like to talk with me about my memories of that one weird animated version of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that I watched back in the day, don't be afraid to reach out. Now, it's time to shout out our next batch of Sticker Club patrons!
Stickers!
This week, we're shouting out longtime friend of the show, Mackenzie Peterson, dear wife of our lovely cast member, Evan. And Kenzie is being joined this week by our 2 newest members of the Sticker Club.
Ooh.
Yeah, since our last recording, we've had 2 new people join the Sticker Club, which I think is the most we've had since we launched the Patreon.
Let's go.
And those people are Eric Jordan Phillips,
Hey!
another friend of the
I
show.
know him. He's a vampire.
Yeah, and Peter Ohms.
Wow.
All right.
Thank you for joining the Sticker Club. These individuals here are, in fact, Sam Sparrowgold's head informants.
Ooh.
Yes, going out into the field, gathering that information, bringing it back to the boss, to bring it back to the bigger boss, and probably Drew is going to try and steal some of that information as well for the papers. And, you know, when you're on the payroll of the lion himself, you're making some pretty good coin, I gotta say. We'll have more Sticker Club patrons to shout out next week, and if you, dear listener, want to join their ranks, consider joining our Patreon at patreon.com/Improv Tabletop, where you can also get things like Discord access, where you can make suggestions for the campaigns that we're going to do. You also can potentially get access to biannual sticker packs and more, such as our current ongoing patron-exclusive campaign, Miceborn, the Mouse Ritter Chronicles.
Yeah.
We've started an arms race.
Things have
I'll
been
just say it.
getting really crazy in the Mouse Ritter Chronicles. Like Connor said,
We love the Americans.
we love the Americans. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. Yeah, you come join our Patreon if you want to get an idea of what that means. And I mean, it's only $2 a month to join at the lowest tier and get access to all of those free bonus episodes. Now, let's do a round of plugs. As always, we've got our sister podcast, iCast Fireball, but something that is not, as always, about iCast Fireball. We don't always have a brand new campaign that we've just started out with a brand new cast member. So if you enjoyed our first campaign, or even if you didn't listen to our first campaign, I would highly recommend checking out this one. It is a pirate-themed campaign.
Yes.
It's off to a very strong start. And joining us as a full-time cast member is Joshua Lorimer, who was with us for a short time as Ralph in our first campaign. He is a longtime hero of ours from listening to him in Sneak Attack and the Titans of Altera, a giant of the actual play podcasting space. So we're very glad to have him with us, and he's bringing a wonderful new vibe to the show.
Wow.
We've got our obligatory mention of fanrolldice.com. We've got an affiliation with them. One kind of fun thing that they're doing lately is they've teamed up with the folks over at Paizo, the publishers of Pathfinder. They have dice with little goblin heads inside of them, so go check those out.
Oh, I'm there.
The other thing that I'm going to plug right now, so there was a band that used to perform in my hometown back when I was just graduating high school called the New Electric Sound. They were actually getting their start around the same time as Neon Trees and Imagine Dragons, actually in the same city as them. So they have a very similar sort of energy to their music, but they're very surf rock inspired.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they've got this nice classic, like that surf rock guitar style. The lead singer, great voice. They just barely released a new album for the first time in, I want to say like 6 years or something. I really love these guys. If you want some nice sort of modern indie twist on classic surf rock, their first song I would recommend checking out is called Heartbeat. That one's great. After that, maybe Crimson Sky is also really fun. Great musicians, and I really appreciate the fact that they're back in the studio. So everybody, go give them a little bit of love. I think that's going to do it for plugs this time around. So everybody, thanks for joining us here in the world of Noirnia. I'm Ned Wilcock, your host and GM, and I've been joined by
Caleb Anderton for Aslan.
Connor Wood. They both reach for the gun, they both reach for the gun.
Heather Brower. I dropped it.
Much love and stuff, everybody. We'll catch you next time on Improv Tabletop. You know, as many times as I've joked about doing an Ace Attorney fake campaign, nobody's listed it in the suggestions yet.
Dang it.
So,
Someday.
listeners, if you want an Ace Attorney campaign someday, maybe somebody put it in the Discord there.
Could be quite fun.
You know, now that I think about it, I'm kind of surprised that nobody suggested Shakespeare yet for our campaigns.
Oh, that's cooking in the pot for the right season.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, listeners, when you want to hear us do our Shakespeare Ace Attorney campaign, you gotta
Sign up for the newsletter.
you gotta mention those in the Discord.
Yeah.
Please don't actually make us do Shakespeare Ace Attorney.
It
I feel
would
like
be-
that would be a little too weird.
It would be audio poison, to quote the McElroys.
Right?